Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Okay, thanks very much, and welcome, everyone, to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. You can do that on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Back from Minneapolis in sub-zero temperatures weekly is Mr. Gene Collier, outstanding columnist with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and your Super Bowl correspondent. So welcome back.
Thank you very much.
You missed Pittsburgh?
When I landed in Pittsburgh from Minneapolis, I felt like I'd landed at spring training. Really, it was so much warm.
What was the lowest temperature?
Yeah, -8 on Thursday.
That was actual temperature?
Actual temperature, right.
Wind chill?
Wind chill, I didn't get it that morning, but on the way to the game, -19.
-19. Oh, thank goodness it's inside, but pro or con, do you want to see future Super Bowls at those kinds of sites, or do you think it should just be the warm weather? Forget the fact new stadiums are part of the equation now.
Yeah, new stadiums are part of the bribe for getting a Super Bowl. I don't know, I'm just used to I guess, being at the Super Bowl where it's warm, and to me that's just more like what the Super Bowl ought to be. Like, you know, when Snowmageddon was here in Pittsburgh, I was at the Super Bowl in Miami. I called my wife. I said, this is why they call it the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl?
Because it's super being here.
And the thing is, there are a lot of people who pay a lot of money, and you would think some of them would say, look, I want to do it, but I don't want to not be able to go outside anymore. But I'm sure Minneapolis was a nice host city.
They did a great job.
So
they did.
That's good. But Gene is back in the hot seat tonight, so we're taking your calls at 412-575-2600. I had a chance to speak with Art Rooney the second today, president of the Steelers, and Gina, they have a lot of stuff to do, but I'm curious. Art still says they want to sign Le'Veon Bell long term. Mm-hmm. That would be fine if he was agreeable to their terms. He wasn't last year. Do you suspect he will be this year?
I suspect he might be, especially after seeing the way some of the great teams in the league now operate without a so-called marquee back or featured back. There you saw two teams in the Super Bowl, the Patriots and the Eagles, who really kind of have a committee of running backs, and they certainly don't seem any worse for the arrangement. I still don't see the Steelers, improving last year's offer to Bell. Do you? So I don't.
No, I think he should have taken it last year.
He should have. He should have.
He was misguided not to, and so now he may have to take less.
Yeah, if he won't, they might say bye to him.
They might. And Ben Roethlisberger now has a whole new lease on his football future. Last year at this time, we were talking about potential retirement. Now he wants to play 2, maybe more, which would then necessitate a contract extension. Actually, it would probably be a good idea if they're going to do that, if he wants to go that long, to do it now to save money under the cap, spread some of that signing bonus money out or whatever they do. But it's kind of an amazing narrative change.
Well, sure. He's not coming off a championship game loss. Some would say this one was worse, but he played so well in it, and he played so well down the stretch that he's convinced himself that he's got a couple good years left in him, and he's probably right.
I want to get your thoughts before we go to the break here, Gene, about the Super Bowl, the game itself, and some of the calls. I think Al Riveron, who has been very inconsistent and erratic, I don't know if you heard the broadcast. You probably were sitting somewhere where you couldn't, but Chris Collinsworth.
The radio broadcast.
Chris Collinsworth was convinced that both of those are going to be incomplete and not touchdown, which I think was only made possible because you saw inconsistencies every year, sure, or throughout the course of the year. And so he was led to believe, well, if he called some of these other ones non-touchdowns, he's going to stick to it. But I think the fact that it was the Super Bowl and Goodell had spoken out that week about changing that rule, I think it influenced him a little bit.
It may have. I mean, both the catches in question, looked like catches to me, but I had no confidence that they would be catches. So maybe there was some influence exerted that way. I just think, the rule is such that, it can be interpreted a lot of different ways when you're looking at it over and over and over in slower and slower motion.
All right, we have a lot to talk about. We'll get into more of the football off-season. We'll also talk about the Pirates if you'd like. They're heading to spring training, should have arrived there today with all their equipment. The question is, what players will they rely on? We'll get into that. And the Penguins had an off day today after a really outstanding night last night at PPG Paints Arena where they honored Marc-Andre Fleury, and then they scored 5 goals on him as their lovely parting gift as he left the city. But a lot to get into, so call us right now at 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call only on Pittsburgh CW.